Ron Karl is a retired chemical engineer and a West Ashley resident who wants to represent the city of Charleston's District 5 area out of West Ashley and parts of Johns Island on Charleston City Council. I talk one-on-one with Ron for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Ron Karl, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Welcome. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I know that you are a retired chemical engineer and you and your retired wife live in West Ashley. And now I understand that you want to become the next councilman for the city of Charleston's District 5, which covers...
What's that? Well, it covers south of 17 from Wappoo on out of town.
Right.
And then Carolina Bay in Bolton's Landing, Sanders Road down to Walmart.
Wow. Which is right there out of West Ashley.
Yeah, it is definitely West Ashley.
Yes, sir. I know about the Walmart area a lot because I work around there a lot. So let me ask you, why this running for city council? Why now, Mr. Ron?
Well, I've lived here for, I guess it's been 8 years almost. And I just see all the trees disappearing and the traffic getting heavy and the police disappearing. So everybody's complaining, and so my wife says if I can't complain if I'm not willing to do something about it. So I'm willing to do something about it. My daughter came to visit, and she said, we were sitting in traffic, and she says, "Don't you know anybody on the city council?" And I'm like, "No." And I says, and a lot of people say you can't fight City Hall, and so I'm a little kind of defiant person anyway, so I said, well, I'll do it. And so here I am running for city council. Wow.
So, Mr. Ron, let me ask you, and I know that area very well, being a native here in Charleston, but where exactly do you see the trees disappearing in your district right now?
Well, I can see even in Carolina Bay, right behind the apartments, right in the middle of Carolina Bay, there's a lot, probably 20 acres, and they left one tree in the entire lot. On both sides of my subdivision coming out, Bolton's Landing, they cut both sides of that property. One side's being the school, and the other side is being something like 100 townhomes. And and then you go down to Publix.
Right.
And Publix, from there to the intersection of Bees Ferry and 17 is just cleared out completely. Across the road from Sanders Road, wiped out. So it's not an isolated incident. It's happening everywhere.
Wow. And Mr. Ron, and I'm looking at Publix because I like I said, I work down there a lot for the company that I work for, so I ended up at the Publix right there, right before you get to the bridge. But let me ask you, where do you foresee future development in District 5 right now?
Well, it's pretty built up, but like I say, they're taking every square inch and building apartments. And so I think we need to concentrate on infrastructure for a little while and don't build any big apartment complexes, perhaps concentrate on some restaurants and renovating 17 that looks like kind of sloppy, where there's stores that are going out of business and stuff. So Sam Rettenberg's looking a little bit better, but to tell you the truth, 17 isn't looking much better, except if you're going to go looking for a car, since there's a lot of car dealerships there.
Right there on the Savannah Highway Auto Mile, of course. But let me ask you, how many high-density apartments do you have right now in that district?
We have probably, cheapest, at least 15.
Now, and how many apartments are currently going up in your district?
Let's see, I can tell you. About 4.
Wow. And what exact infrastructure do you need right now to keep up with all this growth and all of these apartments that are coming into the area?
Well, it's not just the apartments, it's Johns Island.
Yes, sir.
You see, my district runs the entire length of 17 from Main Road to 526.
Right.
So any problem on James Island is my problem, or our problem. And so what we're seeing is that flood of traffic coming off of Johns Island and just going down 17, and 17 is just all jammed up. Right. And then people, instead of going down 17, are diverting onto Bees Ferry. Right. Now Bees Ferry is jammed up. It takes me 45 minutes to get to Home Depot in the morning, and that's only 3 miles.
Right. That's exactly right. Right there, Glen McConnell, and right there, well, right by Channel 5, actually. But let me ask you, how could you actually fix traffic in that area without infrastructure?
Well, you can do some simple things. Like, for instance, Main Road, every intersection has a double turn lane, except for Main Road. So why doesn't Main Road have that double turn lane? That's something easy to do, and it probably wouldn't take all that much money. That's one. The other thing is that Glen McConnell, I'm hoping that when they fix it, they'll have a double right-hand turn onto Glen McConnell and get rid of that little median there with the pedestrian crosswalk sign on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And that'll have. The other thing is that we can do a lot with the lights going down Bees Ferry. If you're going down Bees Ferry from 61, it's a beautiful ride. All the lights are all coordinated. They're all green, and you just go zoom right down. But if you're coming from Glen McConnell's, as soon as you turn that corner, it's red. And then that backs up, and then it finally turns green, and then the next one's red, and then, eventually you're able to get down the road. But it used to take a couple minutes to get down the road. Now it takes 10 minutes to get down the road because it almost seems like every light is red when you're going down that road, unless you're coordinated perfectly like you're coming from 61, which you're never not if you're coming from Glen McConnell. So that is a big problem.
And where else could that happen? Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Ron. In your district, would it be ideal to have any, say, for instance, roundabouts?
I'm an engineer and an inventor, so I'm thinking of a million different options, and for 17, right now, the best thing we could do is get people down there as fast as possible, so a roundabout would just slow those people going down 17. I always thought, you could conceivably, Glen McConnell and Bees Ferry's got that big circle. Right. It does nothing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't have any stores on it. You could almost make that a huge roundabout, and that might solve problems. And I have this whole envision of if you extend Glen McConnell and make it an overpass and underpass, you could use those as a way of getting in onto and off of the main road, the Glen McConnell's and Bees Ferry. And that, if everybody's turning and going on the roundabout past Walmart and then on up, then they wouldn't even have to stop for a light. Right. And that would be kind of, like I say, I got a million ideas, and I think that a little traffic study and we could implement some of those simple ideas.
And what else should be in that traffic study in your mind, Mr. Ron?
Well, certainly the way pedestrians move around and bicyclists. Yes. I mean, the more the traffic is, the less people are wanting to get out and walk. So if we do things that would make it so people could walk, like, for instance, Sanders Road has no sidewalks, yet it goes to a major high school and junior high and a library. But people can't walk there because there's no sidewalk. or a bike path or anything. So some work needs to be done on Sanders Road, but because it's been in the county, it's been kind of neglected. Although the city now is, like I say, they own both sides of it, so I assume that they bought the road too, or the right of way. So something to look at.
Yes, sir. And where else do you need sidewalks right now in District 5?
Let's see. In District 5, well, the sidewalk going down Wappoo, there's a big hole in it, you know? I mean, if you're riding a bike down the sidewalk in Wappoo, you're going to get killed, you know? And the Greenway is a great pedestrian path.
Yes, sir.
But right now, it's being occupied by homeless people. And I talked to people this past 2 weeks around there. I've been talking to all those constituents, and they're saying that they're scared to even go down the Greenway because every morning they got to watch people sprawled out on the ground camping with needles all over the place. I mean, it's like what is it, San Francisco and Charleston down the Greenway, and so we need the police back in West Ashley.
And I know you mentioned that earlier, Mr. Ron. Where exactly should the police be as far as presence right now, besides the Greenway and?
Just being able to be assigned to the area and get to know the people. Most of the things that are happening are being done by, juveniles. And, you know, the only way to stop that is to know who the parents are. And, try to encourage them to control their kids.
And you yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we have kids out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning just roaming around robbing cars. And the police aren't doing anything about it.
I know most of us are sleeping at 2, 3 in the morning, but how many cars have been broken into allegedly over the past couple of weeks here?
Almost every weekend we see somebody's car being broken into. They have a routine that they just go through and see whose cars are open this weekend. You know, and see what they can get. And you don't know who they are. They have masks and hoodies, you know, you can't really tell. But, you know, when they are caught, they are 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, you know?
Wow. Are you all getting any communication from the Charleston Police Department on this?
Oh, they take a report. And, you know, but they're saying that there's not much they can do. You know, their hands are tied, mostly because it's juveniles.
Right. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What should the police department do to really prevent this from happening tomorrow, the next day, and the next day?
Well, I think that if they had a presence here, you know, then perhaps they could be more reactive of who they are, because it's obviously the same kids over and over and over again, you know, or the friends of the same kids. So, and a lot of times they're doing it to try to get recognition into a gang. And so perhaps we should go after the gang leaders and get the gangs out of West Ashley and the drug dealers.
Yes, sir. Where exactly is their presence? I know that's kind of tough to ask, but where are these gangs and the alleged drug dealers in West Ashley in your particular district?
Well, they come to the little parking spots that the Greenway has for people coming during the day, and they make their transactions there. A lot of it is right down 526 along right about 17, that area between 526 and downtown.
Right.
I have a couple friends there that they said that they've actually arrested a few people, houses that were dealing drugs out of the houses.
Wow.
And to tell you the truth, I did the census.
Yes, sir.
And I went through a lot of that area for the census, and there was a lot of people who told me, I said, you better get out of here because that house over there is selling drugs, and you better not knock on that door. So it's amazing how it's pretty prevalent around.
Wow. And I hope to get, well, I did a scheduled interview with the new police chief, Mr. Cheeto Walker, so I hope to get him on Quintin's close-ups to talk more about that in depth in a few weeks. So I hope to get some answers from him on that. But you talk about the census, Mr. Ron, but let me ask you this then. So what are the last figures for a population for District 5?
Let's see. Somewhere in the 15 to 20,000, I do believe.
Oh.
It's pretty big. In fact, if all the apartments come into tuition, there'll be, and you have 2 people per apartment. Right. Excuse me. There'll be more people in apartments than in homes in District 5.
Wow. So how many apartments do you have now versus homes?
Well, that's a good question because I don't know how many of them are rented and how many not rented. Right now, I'm going by a list to door knocking, which is about 50% of them. And so I probably, I don't do very many door knocking in the apartments.
Okay.
Because those tend to be, when I knock on the door, they say, oh, I'm just waiting for a house, or I just moved here,
right.
Or, so they don't seem to be here very long. And,
right.
Even when I do knock on them and I have their name, it's not the same name. So, but I would say I probably have 6,000-7,000 people in apartments right now.
Wow. So what is the biggest demographic in District 5?
I would say it's probably 80-20, 80 white, 20 black.
Yes, sir. And so what exactly is the pace of growth right now for your district?
Say that again?
Yes, sir. What exactly is the pace of growth right now in District 5?
Oh, it's doubled in the last 5 years. Because this is essentially the high growth area,
right?
And so they're putting in homes like crazy, So.
Wow. And so I know, Mr. Ron, you've been living in West Ashley for 8 years now, and you just talked to me about the pace of growth and how that has changed. So let me ask you, what is the most important thing that has changed in District 5 in the past 4 years?
The amount of apartments that have gone in and the amount of traffic on the highway. I think it's apartments here, but also if you look at like Johns Island, the amount of houses out there, I mean, that growth has been phenomenal. And then you look at Ravenel.
Right.
And that growth is like starting to skyrocket. And everybody funnels through West Ashley, or my district.
Wow. So,
and so, even though, the apartments aren't full yet,
right,
there's going to be even more and more problems. And I'm not sure just widening Glenn McConnell's is going to fix the issue.
What will fix the issue from your engineering perspective?
I think that eventually we'll need some sort of an outer belt, like the 17 alt.
Right.
And so that'll require you to have some county and state, but that's what we really need because, face it, there's not too much happening as far as industry in West Ashley. It's all up off of 26 and Boeing and, all that way. And so, it'd be nice to have some industry up the other way off of 17, but it's too much of a lowland,
right?
And it floods too much. So I don't think we're going to get much industry down 17, but it's going crazy up there off of 26. So everybody has to come from West Ashley down to 526, down 526, 26, up 26, and if you just normally take it, it's a 25 to 30-minute ride, which is about what you want for a commute.
Sure.
But the problem now is that it's an hour drive, and that's just for the people in West Ashley. You start doing that, it's an hour and a half drive for the people that are living on Johns Island. So, you can see the problem. The problem is that we need a major artery through West Ashley onto Johns Island. Maybe extension of 526?
Have you done a study with the residents of this area to ask them if they want to extend 526?
Oh, yeah. They said, why haven't they done it yet? That's been proposed 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Why hasn't it been done? So, and I understand that there was some people over in Johns Island, and there is some people on Johns Island that don't like it. But I tell you, everybody off of 17 say, please do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I want to get back to that in just a second. That is, Mr. Ron. But let me ask you, if you were to go with that 17 alternative, how many cars would that take off the road in your area?
It would take off quite a bit, especially if there's a way to cut over to the airport of some sort, or over to where all the workforce work over there.
Yes, sir.
I think, and everybody that comes in and out of town maybe would go that way. Everybody from Edisto would go that way. Everybody from it'd be maybe a truck bypass that all those trucks you see going down 17 and going to the port, they could cut over and do 26 instead of 17. It'd be more highway. And going back to 526, Mr. Ron, I know that reportedly there's still no money for the 526 extension, and the county council seems reluctant to inform the citizens of any financial plan. What should be the ideal financial plan in your mind? Oh, that's a good question. I think that what happened to the big Build Back Better infrastructure plan that our government had, we didn't see any of that, did we? How about where's those gas taxes going? See beautiful roads up in Greenville, but nothing down here. So it's just a matter of priority in my eyes.
Yes, sir. Yes. And I know that the cost of the 526 extension over Johns Island is now reportedly $2.3 billion. SCDOT Secretary Christy Hall says the previous estimate for the extension is outdated, and a lot of things contribute to the new price tag for the project. So when you look at the construction around District 5, what do you see as the current market conditions?
Everybody wants to come to West Ashley, and it's still the lowest property values in town. So if you come, everybody wants here because it's closer to everything. Somerville is nice, but where they're building in Somerville is like on the wrong side of town. Nexton is kind of nice. People can move to Nexton. So there's plenty of places where they're building, and they're even building a lot up in Mount Pleasant.
Sure.
But for some reason, we're the only place that are concentrating up the apartments.
Wow. So when 526 is built, how much would that change the property value in your district?
Well, property values are going up no matter what. It's all a supply demand. If people, and if we, say, hey, let's slow down the growth a little bit, that's going to put a little damper on the supply. So I wouldn't be surprised if the houses stay the same while a lot of the places are going down. according to the economics, it suggests that we're heading towards some kind of economic slowdown anyways. And people are feeling the pinch of the high interest rates. So I think that the home values are going to stabilize, and they should pretty much stabilize in a good way here in West Ashley, because everybody's coming to Charleston.
Right. Yes, sir.
Now
Absolutely.
you go to some of the other places, maybe not so much.
And obviously, Mr. Ron, you mentioned this earlier, and I should have asked you this early in the interview, but how do you build District 5 with smart growth?
Well, I can see they're putting 4 hotels in. I think a couple of them might be renovated hotels, but that would be a good growth. I embrace the tourism. That's what makes our economy go. So everybody likes to come and visit. And so we want them to come and visit, but we'd like them to get around and then be able to come and leave too. So, I think that if we had a better link between the hotels and downtown and the hotels and the airport, then we could move people from the airport to the hotels, and then from the hotels to downtown, and maybe even a shuttle out to the beach, but put more, let the hotels take more of that cost burden.
Yes, sir. And where exactly does density need to go in District 5?
In District 5, let's see, around the circle would be okay. Like that apartment there is probably okay, right in front of the school. You have it right there. You got the Glen McConnell. You're okay. Sure. I think that if you put it around 526, like by the mall there.
Oh, yes, sir.
I think putting it out in intersections is probably not a good idea. Because that kills your ability to widen the street later. A lot of the models, the PUD model, have your buildings right on the street, on both sides, and so that freezes your infrastructure right where it is. So you can't put bike paths, you can't do nothing there. You can't put a bus lane, you can't do anything to improve it, because you got planned urban development there with a big unit and housing on top and a parking garage in the back, and now there is some places that would be good, like the mall.
Yes,
I've seen some pictures of that whole area right there as a planned urban development, and that's a good place for it. Just like maybe a civic center there. There's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of space. There's, I'm not sure MUSC even needs to be there. They just took that because they got a deal on it, I think. But, and they'll probably, I guess Roper's moving out of downtown.
Yes, sir.
So MUSC could easily just take over that. So that would give that whole mall, you could renovate that and make it really nice.
And if you were to talk to the residents of District 5 right now, what exactly do they want to see in this, say, hypothetical civic center?
They would like to see like the stuff that they wanted on the Sumar property.
Oh, yes, right.
Duplicate that and make it a little bit bigger, because now you have the property to do it. You have a bigger civic space. You got a bigger place to have offices. You got a bigger space to have meeting rooms. You got hotels right next door that when people come in for the conference or whatever, they can stay at that hotel and just walk across the street. It makes a whole lot more sense.
And let me take you right to the obvious, because I was literally walking on the property to get over to the other side of Old Town Road. But the Sumar Street redevelopment Northridge is a Charlestown gateway site, is obviously 2.5-acre parcel of land located at the central entrance point to West Ashley. The site was once home, as everyone knows, to Piggly Wiggly. And after a 5-period of vacancy, the city purchased the property on August 8th, at 2017 for the price tag of $3 million. The Piggly Wiggly structure, as you know, Ron, was demolished in May 2018, leaving the property in its present state. So what's the current price tag for this redevelopment in your mind?
Well, right now, if you redevelop that whole thing, it's probably like $70 million if you want to do it with the underground parking garage, the option 1 that they're looking at.
Right.
And the problem there is it's in the middle of the intersection.
Right.
And nobody's going to be able to cross the street to get to it if you make it a park. And really, that's the main, like you said, it's the main gateway to West Ashley. So, I would think you would make the parks over on the rivers, or, like we already have that North Bridge park there. That's a nice park. Expand that. That would be great. But, and maybe you would have the Landon over there,
yes.
Charlestown Landon. That's a beautiful piece of property there. And I think they're putting another park in there also.
Yes, right.
So we have beautiful parks there. We don't need a park in the middle of an intersection. What we need to do is make that intersection so people don't get killed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I have some friends who've gotten bad accidents right at that intersection. And so we need to, and they had a lot of options. They put it on paper, said, we're going to make it T one way or the other, and then we're maybe going to do a rotary there, and which would take up a lot of that Piggly Wiggly parking lot. And then, make it a nice sign that says, welcome to West Ashley, and then work with the developer behind there, that owns the Publix.
Right.
And incentivize him to do the PUD if he wants to, right there, to make it, just so that his doesn't look like another bunch of apartments. You know what I'm saying? Because, I don't think if you just put retail there, it's just going to be more retail there like there already is.
Right.
And, it's nice to have retail, but I don't think it'll be high traffic unless you make it really nice.
And I want to get back to that in a second, but when I was walking on that property just last week, and I think, we had rain this past weekend, obviously, but the previous week when I was over at that Sumar Street site to get over to Old Town Road, I noticed there was a lot of water there. And I know, as you know, City Council proposed an underground parking garage there. But if and when a garage is built, Iran, how much money would the city need to keep that building intact and keep it from cracking and water from coming in?
They couldn't. They would not be able to maintain that building. For one thing, they built it so that it would flood. They even said, if downtown ends up being in trouble, we'll divert all the water into there. And I said, is it equipped with pumps? Oh, no, we don't have any pumps to pump any of the water out. And so they have to rely on the low tide to make the water come out. So, if it's raining and, the low tide is as low as it should be because the rivers are high, then that place will never get pumped out. So from an engineering standpoint, hey, the Dutch might have some ideas, but living in the low country all my life, and I even tried to build a basement in my house up in Rock Hill, which is even in a higher elevation, and I still had water in the basement. So the problem is the water comes up from below, and that's where the flooding comes from. It doesn't flood in from the sides. It just comes in through every crack you can imagine.
Wow. Interesting. So what integrated planning and urban landscape design for this project would actually fix potential flooding in the area?
What, in the Sumar?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that you got to have enough drainage to get everything off. Unfortunately, we live in the low country.
Yes, sir.
And so if you know the low country design, it's designed to flood.
Yes, sir.
And so, you're going to have some rise in the water level. And so, it's going to take a while to get off the property. I mean, that's just the nature of the low country. Now, the more green spaces you have and trees to soak it up,
right,
the more it helps you in flooding.
Yes,
but
sir.
You take down the trees and don't put in the places where it could soak up, then you're just going to get more flooding. And that's what we're seeing is more concrete means more flooding.
Right. Wow. I unfortunately I'm out of time. Zoom is only giving me 20 seconds, but I would love to continue this conversation if you are elected to office. But for right now, Ron Karl, candidate for Charleston City Council's District 5 area. Thank you for your time here on Quintin's Close-Ups.
And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was nice to meet you today.
Likewise, virtually. Yes, sir.